it'll eventually come up. For some reason, it doesn't like it. Yeah, there it is. It's weird, eh?
Yeah, I'll go live then. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and with Corey.
Hello, everyone.
Tonight's show is all about what happens if you have a blocked crown chakra.
I know.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that momentarily, but first
you can't get to the comments.
I have to introduce the show.
Okay, go ahead. Introduce the show.
Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality, and we broadcast every Tuesday from 7 to 8 p.m. Pacific time on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley from the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation on CIVL. And the show is also a podcast on all the major podcasting platforms, and you can see all the past episodes at drlesliephillips.com. And we invite you all, if you wish, to join us on our live stream. So every Tuesday from 7 to 8, we pre-record the show for the following week. We live stream it on YouTube, and we live stream it on the Awaken Your Psychic Ability Facebook group. You can find my YouTube channel, which also has all the past episodes on. And if you tune in at that time, you can be part of our live audience.
And you do want to be part of our live audience.
It's fun, and you get to ask questions and you get to participate. So on to tonight's topic, the crown chakra.
Yes.
And what's it like to have a blocked crown chakra? What kind of signs and symptoms might there be? So first of all, let me do a little bit of an introduction to the crown chakra. It's positioned on the top of your head. That's why it's called the crown chakra. This kind of, it's located really in your energy body, but if you had to point somewhere out in your physical system, it's that soft spot at the top of the skull. You know, that soft spot that babies have called the fontanelle. Then that is the positioning of it as it maps to your physical system, although it's part of your energy system. And people think about the crown chakra as the gateway to higher consciousness. And it's the highest frequency chakra that is associated in association with your physical system. So it kind of is. It is a place where if you seat your consciousness in your crown chakra, you can be still and know yourself as spirit. You can know yourself beyond the human aspect that you are. You can know yourself as the greater being that you are. You can know yourself as a part and portion of all that is. It also is a place of stepping down energies so that they can come into the rest of your system, and is a place of something called transmediumship, which is the ability to channel spiritual energies through your human system. So every single one of us is a transmedium, because here we all have these physical bodies, and yet we are spirit, and we need to channel our essence through that body. And the transmediumship, which is an aspect of the crown chakra, is how we do that.
So we actually do that continuously then. It's just that we don't always listen.
Well, I mean, you are continuously channeling energy and information through all your chakra system all the time. Yes, and so most people are completely unaware of that. Probably most of us are unaware of most of what's going on there, but we can learn to be more aware of it. We can learn to tune in, to know ourselves as spirit, to operate consciously as spirit through the human system, and get familiar with all of these things. So I guess by way of introduction, I'll just read a couple of sentences. Every chapter in my book, Intuition and Chakras, well, not every chapter, but there is a chapter on every chakra in it. And so chapter 8 is the one about the 7th chakra. When it's unbalanced, you may operate from information that is not appropriate for you, that doesn't make sense in your present time reality, and you might impose your perspective inappropriately on others. That's some of the things that can happen when you have an unbalanced crown chakra. But used correctly, it channels your ability to know everything you need to know to fulfill your purpose and to bring your energy into the body so that you can make the most of your earth journey. So that's a summary of what we're going to talk about tonight. But what might be some symptoms? How do you know? How do you know that your crown chakra is imbalanced? And we can go through a few different levels of this. Of course, there can be a physical symptoms, and the crown chakra relates to your brain, things like your pituitary gland, your brain, and all of those things within the brain, the thalamus, the hypothalamus, and so on. And so you might have headaches, or you might have something more serious that's going on in that area of your body, and it could be relating to some kind of misalignment with your crown chakra. But before we get to a physical state of out of alignment, then there's precursors to that. So let's talk about some of the ways that you might feel, or the things that you might experience that might indicate something going on with the crown chakra. Feeling spacey. Feeling spaced out, feeling disoriented, feeling disassociated with physical reality, feeling disconnected from your body, feeling disconnected from your higher being, not feeling yourself, being out of sorts, feeling out of alignment, feeling disconnected, feeling nobody truly knows who you are. Nobody truly appreciates you and your contribution that you might make. So feeling like they just don't get me, they just do not understand me.
You're looking at me, aren't you?
Actually, I wasn't. But I could feel you thinking, yeah, that's my thing that I say. And some other other things that you can get into when it comes to the crown chakra is feeling like you're being controlled by other people, feeling like you're being manipulated, feeling like you're being dominated. Or the opposite, where you actually become somebody who is manipulative to others and tries to control other people, tries to control your reality, tries to make everything be the way that you want it to be, including other people. So that can also be a sign that your crown chakra is out of balance. So some typical things as well might be, you could be someone who has authority issues. You know, you rail against authority, you're uncomfortable with authority, you lose your power when faced with authority, or you have a domineering personality and you exert authority over other people. Unrealized potential, I was talking about that a little bit, you know, like feeling like somehow I'm not, people don't see my full potential, they don't appreciate me, I'm not realizing my full potential. Somehow I'm not able to really, you know, bring that through and channel that through myself and bring that into reality and bring that into being. I mentioned feeling out of touch with reality. Another thing is operating from information that's not yours. So you could either be imposing information onto others that's not theirs, or operating from information that's not yours. So that, like, giving your power away. And so just being someone who aligns with someone else and their ideals and their belief system and just churns out what this other person is saying, rather than really taking the time to know yourself, align with yourself, and understand your unique perspective. You may just take on the cloak of another. And this is very, very common. And I think that there's probably a very rare family on this planet where the children don't end up with these type of experiences, either because the authority of the parents is telling you what to believe, to take on their belief system. This is who we are, this is what we believe, this is what we do in the world. And then getting to be a teenager and rebelling against that authority. Those can be issues relating to the crown chakra, amongst other things.
Interesting.
So the idea that you could be channeling foreign energy, and I'll give you an example, which I think most of us have experienced. So you could be just going about your ordinary day, having conversations, doing different things, and all of a sudden you go, wow, I really just reminded myself of my mum, or I really just reminded myself of my dad. You know, the way I said that was my mother's voice, or that was my father's voice, or that's what they always say, and you find yourself saying it, or that's what they do and you find yourself doing it. I think we've all had that experience. And, you know, those are often some of the closest people to us. They've been the most influential people in our lives. And we can inadvertently be channeling their energy through our system. The family unit is sort of set up for that, isn't it? You've got the little toddler and you've got the parent hovering over them. And the parent is wanting to channel into the child what to do, how to behave, how to walk, how to eat, how to speak, how to interact with others. So in some senses, it's kind of a natural thing, but in another sense, then the child has to be able to reprogram themselves. They have to be able to release the programming that they've received from the parents, the teachers, the grandparents, the religion, all the other cultural groupings, so that they can find who they truly are and then make a choice based on what they now know about themselves and what feels right for them. And that's not saying that necessarily these other people are bad people. They're often trying to do their best to help a person to, grow up to be a good citizen or to understand how the world works. But sometimes they are, aren't they? Sometimes they are out of alignment, and then what they're delivering to the child is out of alignment. So we take this stuff on, we become programmed with a whole belief set and behaviors and just ways of being that we take on from others. And that's the transmediumship aspect and the knowingness aspect. Actually, it's both of those things. So you can hold beliefs that aren't yours, you can have behaviors that aren't yours, and you can have it practically since before you were born. So you don't even question it, you think it is you. And people live whole lifetimes not as themselves because of this. And it's one of the reasons why the mystery schools would always require, as a very first step, know yourself. Know yourself so that you can authentically express yourself, so that you can know the unique perspective that is yours, and so that you can offer from that unique perspective that is yours. Now, another thing is, as a child, you might get called a little know-it-all. Right? You little know-it-all. That's a sort of childhood trait for the crown chakra. So you could be very powerful in your knowingness, but get on everyone else's nerves because you're constantly knowing things and saying things, and people not really wanting you to do that. So teasing you, calling you a know-it-all, and causing you to turn down your knowingness because, I'm not appreciated for my knowing. I'm appreciated for my compliance, not for my knowing. So we learn to modify the gifts that are part of this energy center, the gifts of your knowingness, the gifts of your transmediumship, and some of the other things that the crown chakra can help you with is having premonitions, precognitive visions, or knowings, being able to channel messages, entering altered states of consciousness, and that type of a thing. So the show it's entitled, what happens if you have a blocked crown chakra. So we'll talk about that a little bit more, I think. What could happen? That was my Alexa made a noise then. I hope you, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the extremes of this. So to truly own your crown chakra and to truly be in alignment, then you are channeling yourself and you are knowing your higher information. But for your crown chakra to be out of alignment, then you are channeling something else or somebody else, and you are knowing somebody else's information. So let's take a break and I'll talk about this in a bit more depth when we get back. Welcome back, everyone, to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie, talking about the crown chakra and what is it like to have an unbalanced crown chakra. And before the break, I was saying that the crown chakra being in alignment is about you channeling yourself, your own energy, your own information, and knowing who you are and knowing your own higher wisdom. The crown chakra out of alignment is you operating from someone else's information, someone else's belief system, being out of touch with who you are, and channeling someone else's energy and information. And it's not just black and white, it's black and white and all shades of gray in between. So in the first part of the show, we were saying, have you ever caught yourself saying something like somebody else would say it, like your boss or like your mom or like your dad? That's you channeling a little bit of their energy. That's kind of like the gray zone. But the extreme of this would be what they've made lots of movies about. Rosemary's Baby, possession. So there are various degrees of this idea of progression, from something very innocent, you know, all the way to being predominantly not yourself. And some of the things that don't help with this, if you're somebody who drinks a lot of alcohol, or who takes a lot of recreational drugs, those kind of things can cause you to disassociate from your body. They can cause you to be ungrounded. And it's sort of like leaving the house with the door wide open. And when you leave the house with the door wide open, somebody spots that, oh, look, there's an empty house with an open door. Then, you know, all and sundry may rush in to occupy that space. And another thing that could relate to this is if you get frightened, you tend to lose your grounding and go into a state of fear. And you might tend to open your crown chakra really wide because it's like, what's going on? I'm really afraid. But because you're ungrounded, you're not owning your space. And again, it's a little bit like, it's like leaving the house, leaving the door open in the house and advertising to the lowest vibration energies that you possibly can, because fear is the lowest vibration energy that, you know, is here. So that's one of the things that can happen. And let's talk about that a little bit more, because that's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum would be you just being in your own magnificence, being in your own authenticity, channeling your own wisdom and expressing that wisdom into the world. So it can help you to be very powerful. But there's also another, I guess, type of transmediumship where somebody is not in control of their transmediumship. So let's talk about it a little bit like this. So sometimes when we start awakening to our higher knowing, and we can be amazed at what we know and how we can know and how we can instantly know. And we start getting this download of information, and we say, oh, wow, I'm special because I'm getting these information downloads. I know all of this stuff. I must meant to be here to be delivering this great message to people. But it could be that might be your information, and your information is right for you and your unique perspective. It's not necessarily right for everybody else. And everybody else has their own ability to access their own information and doesn't need you to impose your information on them. And if we look around, we see this happens everywhere, right? It happens in religions. I guess it happens in politics. It happens in all sorts of arenas of our existence. Another example of somebody's crown chakra being very out of alignment, and there's any number of these individuals that we can point to. But you know, when you get these great leaders or gurus like Hitler, or is it Jim Jones, or I don't know, David Koresh, or these people who have these very magnetic personalities, very eloquent, that seem to be very powerful in their knowing and in their belief. And all of a sudden you have a whole population or a whole group of people who are mesmerized, who are hypnotized by this person's out of control trance mediumship, controlling them all at the crown chakra level, having them all think that they believe the same thing that is being touted by this person, but actually they're being controlled by a very powerful, out of alignment, someone else's trance mediumship. And taken to the extreme, we've seen examples where that kind of thing leads to genocide or mass suicides. So it's very important for you to be in touch with your own knowingness, and it's very important for you to be channeling your own energy and your own information.
It's interesting because, I've met in my sales career, I've met some good salesmen, but I've also met some super salesmen. I'm talking super salesmen. These guys can sell anything to anybody. And you kind of think there's like, I watch these people in action, like, there must be some way they're controlling this situation. It's not just NLP or anything like that. It's
trance mediumship.
Yeah, they're doing something that's just causing people to open up their wallets.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe we've all had an experience where we've fallen prey to that. So
Yeah. And it's not slick. It's not being slick. It's just these guys don't even have an ounce of slickness. They're just bang, it just happens.
No, and it's almost like you can have a level of your consciousness that sees them for what they are, and yet at the same time, like a puppet, like an automaton, you still go along with it. Yeah, I remember once being in the room with a salesman like that, and he was telling a story of how they all give a personal story that's supposed to get you identifying with them. And he'd been diagnosed with some kind of problem in his heart where he could be taken out like that. And we're all meant to be really sympathetic about this. And yet this person was an out of control trance medium. And I saw some of the guides that were around this person. And it was literally, you better be on your best behavior this lifetime because you will be taken out. So sometimes people who've run amok, may come back, but they may be monitored in terms of, when they've got that kind of magnetic ability to be so controlling over others, that, they're only allowed to go so far or they are taken out. I have another example, which I don't even know if I've ever said this on air before, but I once went to a lunch with an American president. It was a big lunch. There was thousands of people there. And there was all the sort of, Secret Service guys, and you got searched once, you got searched twice, you got scanned, you got, just to get in the room. And it was an international audience of, maybe half of the people were Americans and half of the people were from all over the world. And I was just interested in looking at this person energetically. And they were very much channeling, and they were very much kind of an out of control trance medium. And they were saying it was around the time of, they were against terrorism. And the lunch was nothing to do with terrorism at all. It was to do with science. But this person kept standing up, kept saying as part of their speech how they were going to kill the terrorists. And every time they did that, the whole room, thousands of people stood up and applauded. all on cue, all together. And then, and I could look around, and we were all doing it. And we were all at the same time watching ourselves doing it, going, why am I doing this? I don't even agree with what this person is saying. And yet it happened multiple times that the whole crowd was mesmerized. The whole crowd stood up and applauded them. And then after it was over, people were saying, especially the people that weren't Americans, what happened? I have nothing to do with this. I don't live in this country. That's not my president. Why was I cheering this person? And even the Americans as well. And it was because this person, A, was channeling all sorts of energies, not just their own, and B, was just locked in on everyone's crown chakra, so that we were all hypnotically just performing like puppets. So that's an extreme example.
No, but it's a very, very true example. You see that in the personal development industry that I worked in for a while. Somebody could stand up on the stage and you're listening to them, and all of a sudden they say something and everybody in the audience just goes wild because they touched something, and they're it's more than that. They're connecting, and you can feel that connection.
Yeah, they could be actually plugging in by energy cords into the crown chakra.
Yeah.
So that's an extreme example of an out of alignment crown chakra, because each one of us is unique. Each one of us has our own unique energy and information. Each one of us is meant to channel our own energy and information. And so it's out of alignment to impose your perspective on another person. You can share it with them, but not control them to the degree that they just, comply with what you are touting. So that's the crown chakra. And of course, on the other side of the crown chakra is just many wonderful things. Your connection with divine consciousness, your connection with God, your connection with your higher being, your access to information about anything and everything that you could ever want, need, and desire, your ability to bring your energy, your creations into the manifest world, into the material world. And it truly is the gateway to higher consciousness. It's the gateway to your higher self. It's the gateway to connect with your God, with your divine source, and the conduit to receive your information and energy into your divine vessel, which is your physical body, which is meant to be owned by you and meant to receive your energy. And any energy that's not your energy doesn't feel right in your system. So another way to know that you are channeling energy and information that's not yours is that you feel off. You feel off. You're not quite right. It just doesn't sit well with you. So I think I'm going to open up the chat room to any comments, stories anyone would like to share, and any questions that you might have about tonight's subject.
We have a couple of things for you.
Sounds good.
Do you want me to share them with you?
Yes, please.
Okay. The first one's from Victoria. Vicky. Now, when your crown chakra is blocked, could that cause mental illness?
Can you say that again?
When your crown chakra is blocked, could that cause mental illness?
I'm just being careful about how I answer this one.
Yeah, good idea.
So, because I'm not a medical doctor, all right? So it's not my job to, but I would say often people who have been diagnosed with a mental illness do have problems with their crown chakra, yes. And sometimes people who are having experiences that relate to a misalignment of the crown chakra, who end up in the medical system, will be diagnosed with a mental illness. So there is a relationship between what we call a medical illness and the energy center of the crown chakra. I mean, and again, I take this with a pinch of salt, right? Because I'm not a medical doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, but if you take the case, let's take the case of multiple personalities, you know, and there is a traditional medical perspective on this, you know, that I'm not an expert on. But spiritually speaking, a person with multiple personalities could be channeling those different personalities through their crown chakra, for example. Somebody who is experiencing alternate realities that make no sense to people around them could be having issues with the crown chakra. For example, being too open and exposing them to realities far removed from the reality that their physical body is living in. So I would say there is a relationship. And let me just look into that question a bit more, because I think there's something, I think that question, that person's asking that question for a reason. I don't know whether you know somebody that you're wondering about.
This is Vicky, by the way.
Yeah. Sometimes when people have abused drugs, sometimes their crown chakra can look quite damaged. I've encountered quite a few people like that, where I've given them healing work in their crown chakra to help them, and it's been damaged by drug abuse. So I guess the short answer to your question is yes, there is a relationship there. And if there's a specific if there's a specific question and circumstance, you're welcome to ask me about that. All right.
Okay, it's time for a break, Dr. Leslie, if that's okay with you.
Sounds good. Welcome back, everybody. We're talking about the crown chakra. And I just realized, you know, there's one thing that I didn't really talk about at length because it's about a blocked crown chakra. But when you've got your crown chakra working really great, you know, there's some amazing things that you can be doing. You can be channeling information from divine source, higher aspects of your own consciousness, sources of guidance that are supportive of humanity and its evolution. And that's all done through the crown chakra and through the gift of transmediumship. And I am actually starting a channeling course coming up very imminently, although it's not open to all comers. People have to have taken my Unlock Your Intuition course first, because they have to learn how to be in control of their energy first. But, you know, I don't want to just talk all about the bad side of it, because there are so many wonderful things. I mean, we could think about, I mean, all day long, I'm constantly channeling information through my crown chakra to help people, to help enlighten them, to help them to evolve, to help them transcend their issues and their problems. There are many amazing gifts in our world from people who have channeled you know, divine teachings for our benefit. And so the flip side of a blocked crown chakra is, you know, can be some just amazing powerful gifts to yourself, for yourself, and to others as well. What's our next question?
Why am I here? No.
Are you here? But are you?
Am I here? Is it real? Is it true? This is from Omida, and she says, when, and you'll have to listen very carefully, okay? Because it came in two parts. So when we refer to knowing what is yours, I presume the voices or messages that you're getting, do you mean innate knowledge that we bring into this current human incarnation? Or is it coming into a sense of self that we develop as a part of our human experience in this lifetime? Or both? I'm asking because as a mom of a young child, I'm always striving to strike the balance between encouraging my daughter to discover, come to know herself and her innate information versus teaching or mentoring her on how to be in this world. It's a tricky balance.
Yeah, it is tricky. And there's obviously no parent. There isn't such a thing, is there, about getting it perfect, because you've got these unique individual human beings interacting with each other. So when I say to know your information, do I mean innate knowledge, or do I mean in the sense of your development of increasing wisdom as you live your life? Both. So we all have, we could call it our Akashic record. We could call it our infinite divine landscape of self, our infinite self. We all have an enormous ocean of information that comes from our wisdom of living many, many lifetimes and having many, many experiences on earth, in other places, different realms of consciousness. And we access that through our crown chakra. And we come in as a fresh human being, and that's there. But that fresh human being is now born into a new experience and is living a life and is making choices, and choices that maybe they've never made before, or anyone's ever made before, having experiences never had before, and having the results of that reflected back at them and learning them and growing and adding to that vast ocean of consciousness by the experience that they are having as the one that they are now. And then that becomes part of that pool. And it is the knowledge that it is a great part of the knowledge that they're wearing this lifetime from the current life experience. So I guess I do mean both, and that thing about being a mom, well, of course, you do have to train a new human not to put their hand in the fire, not to put their finger in the electrical socket, right? As spirit, we can do anything, We could crash a car at 1,000,000 miles an hour and then get up out of it and say, I'm fine. We could do all sorts of things as spirit that, when you're now in a human incarnation, have consequences to the vehicle, the human body that you're in. So part of the job of a parent is, I guess, to help them navigate the physical world and understand the way that the physical world works. And so, of course, you do have to help them not to put themselves into a situation that's going to harm their body. At the same time, how do you do that without, I don't know, let's say you see your child about to put their hand on the hot plate. Well, of course you're gonna scream, and you're gonna run across the room, and you're gonna grab them, and you're gonna pull them away from it. And then that child, will have their own experience as a result of that. So That's life as a human being in the physical world. And I think each one has to find their own way through that. And how we are in relationship to others is part of the journey and part of learning about ourselves and others, you know. And so the parent-child relationship is a special form of relationship. So I hope that just gives a perspective. It certainly doesn't give a black and white answer, because I don't think there is one.
No, sometimes there isn't, eh?
Yeah.
Sometimes we just have to do our best and hope it's the best that we can do. So this is from Allison. And Allison says, will continuing to use psychotropic meds prevent me from healing or connecting to my crown chakra?
So, and you know, I'd be interested in what you mean by psychotropic medicines. I have had some clients who have taken ayahuasca, and I have seen some people benefit from it. Those are the cases where those people have been in a very controlled environment under the supervision of somebody very experienced, and they have had reality shifts and personal epiphanies as a result. But I've also watched those people come back home and real life is here again. And so even those people, I've seen them go back time and time again to try and reset. So I've also seen people who have overdone it and who have self-medicated them or dispensed these things to themselves. And I've seen some people quite messed up by doing that. So I think your situation is completely unique to you. I'd want to know a little bit more information about it. So I certainly wouldn't make a blanket statement that says, you know, all of these things are bad or all of these things are good. I've seen evidence of some positive effects. I've seen evidence of some negative effects. I think it all depends on who you are and how you're using these things. From my own perspective, the thing that has helped me the most in my life is meditation and the specific energy techniques that I teach. And I think it's very possible, well, I know it is 100% possible to have these experiences without taking any drugs of any kind, that you can be aware of your higher being, you can connect with sources of guidance, you can communicate with the plant kingdom, with, you know, animal guides, with higher guidance. You can become aware of your own limits and work through them. You can work through your own trauma. You can shift your own belief systems using meditation, which, you know, doesn't involve taking a substance that could be quite heavy on the system. Corey, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, she added antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds for insomnia.
Oh, antidepressants and anti-anxiety. So they sound like mainstream drugs, but when you said psychotropic, I don't know why I didn't.
Medication. So
okay.
I think meds is the
yeah. So okay. So antidepressants and anti-anxiety. Again, I'm not a medical doctor. Anything I say on this matter is with a pinch of salt, but I have seen people who are medicated in that way, and I've seen what their energy field looks like. And So sometimes I've seen people where the energy system is turned down, where it's sort of, you know, depressed or turned down. I've also seen examples where have I? So let me look at your particular circumstance. But again, this is a matter for a doctor, for a medical professional. So, but I'll see if anything comes up that I can say about this in your particular case. So the question is, will continuing to take these things stop you from healing yourself and keep you from your crown chakra? Well, I validate that it does seem like there's a kind of blockage in your crown chakra. I don't feel like I should comment on whether you should continue or not continue to take drugs. That's something that you have to take to your doctor. But I do see that there's something going on in your crown chakra, and I'm just going to give you a little healing because I might be able to get a bit more information. And it does look to me as though, remember I said the energy that's meant to be in your vessel, in your body, is your energy. Your energy is meant to be flowing in, energizing you, filling you with life force. And that's not fully occurring. Well, it's not fully occurring in most humans, but you know, it's not that there is a blockage with respect to that. And I would say what I can offer you is learning some meditation techniques that would help you with that. Meditation can help with depression. Meditation can help with anxiety. And that's where science and spirituality actually concur, because there are lots of scientific studies that have shown that to be the case. So if you're interested, Alison, then I can definitely suggest to you some energy practices, some meditation practices that might help you with what you're going through. But I don't feel like I can comment on the medicine that you're taking.
No, it's true. And the other thing, like when people ask about things like that, a lot of times it's they gotta have to understand that just connecting with your crown chakra happens quickly, but not as quickly for some people as it does for other people. It takes, just like in any sport or any talent or anything like that, you don't become an expert instantaneously unless you're, you know, a super genius, you know, like Sheldon on Big Bang Theory. But who's of course not a real person. But you have to take everything, as Leslie said, with Dr. Leslie said, with a grain of salt. Learn slowly to work into these things. And so the next question, and she says, "Thank you. I'm recovering from traumatic rape." Okay.
Yeah.
This is from Brian. Brian says, "Hi, Dr. Leslie. You had mentioned I could ask about the building near me that you previously identified as a portal. Since the energy in it is stronger and I keep getting drawn to it, I wonder if you could look at it and tell me more. Since I keep getting drawn to it, what is it? What is it? And how am I connected to it since I keep getting pulled?" So I know when I was in it recently, I did receive more information on it, mostly through my crown chakra, sort of like downloads and communication. And I'd like to know more about it since it's just such a wonderful high vibration. I still feel that connection. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, there are energy spots all around the world. which we could see as portals. So just as we were just talking about the crown chakra being a portal to our own higher consciousness within our physical body, the body of the earth has these portals, these vortices, these gateways, these doorways, and sometimes the energy can be coming in, sometimes the energy and information can be coming in, sometimes the opposite way around. And so there are these high energy points, vortices, which is what a chakra is, where the energy can be quite different, and it can be higher vibration, and it can be faster moving, and even sometimes the rules of reality can shift. So some of these vortices, you know, some of the rules of physical reality operate differently. So it looks like one of these high energy spots, and that you are drawn to it because on some level of your being, you're perceiving that high vibration, fast moving energy. The energy looks quite pure, and it feels, it reminds me of, you know, sometimes you take a salt bath. And I don't know why the word sound bath came up, but sometimes, you know, you could go to I don't know, some crystal healer and lie in a sound bath. But it feels like you're attracted to that energy because you're wanting to cleanse your system, and you're wanting to raise the vibration in your system, and you're wanting to match that very clear high vibration of energy. And in the matching of it, then it makes you sensitive to the information that is flowing through it as well. And it feels like it's a kind of vibrational attunement that you're receiving. The other thing comes up about it is that it looks like it's even possible for you. Let's say you're not there. Let's say you're at home relaxing, but you could project your consciousness there. You could project your astral body there. And so it looks like you can, there's some ways that you can interact with it, whether you're actually, you know, taking your physical body or not. Oh, so Brian says that that's what it felt like, a sound bath. Yeah, there's some kind of vibration, exactly, some kind of vibrational attunement that seems to be possible within that energy vortex. It's almost like, yeah, exposing yourself to a kind of high frequency tuning fork. So very cool.
Well, thank you, folks. That's it for another week. Appreciate your being here. Come back next week. Bring a friend.
Yeah, be a friend.
Bring a friend. So take care, folks.
Bye, everybody.